Okay, folks. Hello, TikTok. I'm running a TikTok live right now as well. So what I'll be doing is I can look you guys right in the eyeballs, but TikTok is going to be up here. So if I look away from you, that's simply because I am looking at the camera for the live. Oh, hold on a second here. I got to change some of these captions. Boop. All right. Hang on a second here. And I'm just going to run this. Let me hide that. It's like a TV preacher. Okay, so welcome to the first Sunday in August. By the way, people on TikTok, um, Christmas is only 141 days away from today. So welcome and thank you for joining us. We are DPF Guys based in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus 100% on diesel after treatment services for anything with a diesel engine and in emission systems. Most of our customers are truck drivers and fleets, but we also service after treatment for off-road equipment, diesel passenger vehicles, stationary equipment with DPF systems, and stationary equipment, by the way, would be generators, pumps, rock crushers, tippers at the landfill, anything else like that. Here's my big disclaimer. I know enough to be dangerous. So anything that we talk about here, definitely run it by your mechanic. And any concerns with you have your engine or truck, and any pricing we discussed here may or may not apply to you. And should not be used. It should be only used as a guideline and not any form of official quote for any services by DPF Guys or anybody else for that matter. The numbers we talk about here are going to be, ballpark, but they'd be fairly accurate. I just don't want to have you, watch this video 10 years from now and say, wait a second, you told me it'd be $125. Now it's $126 and you're all mad at me. So let's go through these questions. We've got 10 of them this week. How we structure this is I will gather up questions that come in, through the week and kind of feature the ones that I like the best. I don't mind answering the same question multiple times, so don't be shy. And of course, you can send those questions to us via YouTube, via Facebook. If you're on Twitter and are tweeting, or X, is it X? X now? Or LinkedIn for that matter, if you're a fleet or an owner operator on LinkedIn. Tommy J just joined us on TikTok. I just love that. So ask your questions, and of course you can also text them to us at 404-999-1361. And so let's get started with question number 1. So this is from a gentleman named Hot Farmer 82. I'm not going to comment on whether he's a hot farmer or not. That's a matter of opinion. He says, please explain, why does all this matter if at the end of the day, it all comes out the exhaust anyways? So I may not have explained myself clearly or effectively, but unless the DPF filter, the diesel particulate filter, is cracked, the particulate matter, soot and ash, is 100% captured by the DPF and does not enter the atmosphere, and especially your lungs. When we clean a DPF, we capture all the soot and ash, and that we clean out using submicron filtration and keep the particulate matter out of the air and recycle all of the soot we capture. And submicron filtration just means that we capture all of the tiny nastiness that we get out and make sure we safely dispose of it. And what's interesting is, even though there's a lot of hullabaloo about the about after treatment and everything, a lot of different opinions about it. People say, oh, it's just carbon. Well, that's true. It is just carbon. And it's actually not considered a hazardous material for disposal in landfill or sanitary sewer. But that's how this stuff works, because, something that you can wash down the drain or, safely bring to the landfill and bury doesn't mean it's hazardous material or toxic in that context. But you take that stuff and you breathe it in, and it's going to do bad stuff to you, especially if you do it over a long period of time. So that's my answer to question number 1. Hot Farmer 82. I hope that helps you out. You may be actually watching on the TikTok right now. And so let's look at question number 2. And it's very similar. Soot in the air, bad. Soot down drain, good. I kind of get this challenge. And the short answer to the question is yes. Now, I'm not saying that, that soot down in the drain is good, but it's not bad. Diesel soot is essentially micron or submicron carbon. And while I would definitely not recommend it, you could probably take a spoonful of it and eat it without any serious issues. I don't think it would taste very good. So diesel soot is not poisonous per se, but those particles are tiny and definitely and without question are harmful when breathed, especially over a long period of time. And using your logic, you could ask, well, you could say, well, you're telling me dumping my garbage in the street is bad, but dumping it into a trash can and into the landfill is okay. And the answer is yes. The fact is, there are safe and effective ways to handle waste, and diesel soot is waste, and there are unsafe ways. So blowing columns of black smoke as you hammer down the highway is not one of the safe ways of disposing the soot. Does a filter catch heavy metals from the exhaust? Tommy J, hold that thought. I'm going to run through these questions first, and we're going to get to the TikTok stuff. And those of you watching on the other channels like on YouTube or Facebook, you may want to jump over to TikTok, because once we're done here, and this will take maybe 30 minutes or so to go through these questions, we're going to bump into TikTok and get down and dirty with some questions coming in here. And so if you want to see the in-depth behind the scenes chat here, join on TikTok. All right, so question number 3. And this is an interesting one. And I think it's worth talking about. And he goes, I guess this is a business page for anyone who thinks that cleaning a DPF is saving money. You're wrong. Buy a new one. They don't last. Now, that's as a dad with daughters, when they were young, they would go, they would do something like this. They would make you, and I'd say, that's not a question. That's a statement. Ask me a question. So this is a statement, but it's a fair one for us to touch on here. So, the guy is saying, well, for anybody who thinks that cleaning a DPF is a good idea, you're wrong. Buy a new one. And I can see, based on how DPFs are often cleaned, you might have that experience, because so I think this guy, user 25509, probably is, had a DPF cleaned or tried to clean a DPF and ended up having a bad experience. So improperly or incompletely cleaning your DPF with a power washer or oven cleaner or compressed air, garden hose, anything like that, purple power, I've heard all these things, will definitely give you less than satisfying results in the long run. In fact, can make things much worse. And the fact is, partially cleaning your DPF can get you back on the road, but you'll need to get it cleaned again much sooner than you would have if you had done it right. So, with that all being said, if we do have a DPF in here that we can't clean or can't clean effectively, or if you're just, like this gentleman might just say, hey, I don't want to get it cleaned, I just want to replace it. We do sell replacement DPFs, have excellent, quality products that we can sell you brand new, 3-year warranty, no core required, unlimited mileage, 3-year warranty on the DPFs. And we also have a good selection of reman DPFs that we've cleaned, give a 1-year warranty on, and that's also an option. But our record with cleaning is literally 99% success. 1% do not pass and do need to get replaced, but for the most part, if it's cleanable, we can clean it. And for any reason that we can't clean it, we guarantee that we can clean it. And if we can't, you don't have to pay. Try to keep it simple. Thanks for the rose. I just got a rose on TikTok. All right. So what do we have for question number 4? I love this guy's screen name. He's probably going to be embarrassed that I'm featuring him here, but this gentleman's name is, I'm going backwards. Sorry. Question number 4 from Clean My Nuts, because we know that having clean nuts is very important. Longtime listener, first time caller, do you have an opinion on the use of fuel additive catalysts like max mileage combustion improver? And my answer to that is I do not have an opinion on max mileage, but I hope to have one soon. I have a call into Pittsburgh Power, who distributes max mileage, and if anybody out there uses max mileage anywhere on these channels, I would love to talk to you more about it. And and so once I hear back from Pittsburgh Power and somebody who knows more about that, I can learn more about that, and might even feature them on an upcoming video, as in that we could interview them. But I do know max mileage is supposed to be a fuel catalyst, and the purpose of it is to increase the efficiency of your diesel fuel combustion, which reportedly will increase your fuel economy and reduce soot output. Keep in mind, TikTok and my friends on YouTube and Facebook, etc. Soot is just diesel fuel that did not burn completely, unburned diesel fuel. Think about if you have a fire and you're burning damp wood, or it's not really hot yet, you might develop a layer of soot, up around where the fire burns. But once that fire gets roaring, it'll burn that soot off, and the bricks are as clean as can be. So, more about max mileage. I do know that it costs $225 a gallon, and it seems to be listed for sale in a number of places. So I would guess they do have some loyal customers. Now it's diluted pretty substantially. So that 225-gallon bottle container of max mileage can treat over 3,000 gallons of diesel fuel. So a little dab will definitely do you. And if you're getting results from it, and if you divide $225 across 3,000 gallons of diesel fuel, and you are getting back more than $225 worth of improved performance, or increased intervals between DPF service, it is totally, totally worth it. But stay tuned as I learn more. Also, check our YouTube channel, because I recently did a featured interview with a pretty cool gentleman out of Las Vegas named Eben Rockmaker. That is literally his name. You'd think that it's that's his stage name. He's a male stripper, but no, Eben Rockmaker. Joining on the poll right now is Eben Rockmaker. Anyway, cool guy. He's an AMSOIL rep, and we had a great conversation about synthetic motor oils. And I'll be doing a follow-up video with him talking about cetane boosters and other fuel treatments. So definitely subscribe to our channels. It's subscribe channel, by the way, and we'll keep you in the loop. So question number 5 from Jamie. And so I was talking in one of the videos about the intervals for DPF cleaning. And Jamie asked about, do you mean removal and cleaning at those intervals? So did a TikTok video talking about, I think I was working on some Ford F350, F450 DPFs, and, talking about how often to get it done and everything else. The joke is, we ask people, when's the last time you got your DPF cleaned? And if they don't remember, it's time to get it done. Rule of thumb, looking at just average, just looking across a large number of trucks in a large fleet, the number is 160,000 miles. Now, what I tell people is, think about it every X miles. Think about it every 160,000 miles. What I'm not saying is that if you hit 161,000 miles, your truck is just going to, is this going to fall apart? But 160,000 miles, and it might be, a little too soon for some trucks, a little too late for others, but on average, that's the right number. Now, if you're over the road, take good care of your truck, keep your oil changed, use good oil. You easily go 250,000 or more miles between cleaning. And in fact, this is one, that Eben and I talked about. There is a customer of his and a future customer of mine, I hope, that has, almost 500,000 miles in his truck, and he has never had to even do a forced regen. And Clinton, if you're out there, we are talking about you again. And even if you're out there, you're a rock star. Anyway, so so we talk about this guy on the channel, talk about this guy on the, on our video I did with Eben from AMSOIL. So his name is Clinton. He's a stickler for maintenance. He runs 100% AMSOIL for his motor oil. And I learned something this week, which was full synthetic motor oil only needs to be 25% synthetic to qualify as full synthetic. But 100% synthetic is truly 100% synthetic. So the more you know, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc. But if you run another, if you're over the road driving long distances, like many people do, 160,000 miles, but definitely before 300,000 for your DPF cleaning, unless you have Clinton and you're OCD about maintaining your truck, and then you might be able to go 500,000 miles or more between DPF cleanings. But if you run differently, like for instance, a tow truck, a crane, garbage truck, big roll off, picking up dumpsters and things like that, a bus, a fire truck, um, the truck is driven entirely, the vehicle is driven entirely differently, and you might need to get it done every 50,000 miles or even more often. True story. Did DPFs on a crane from a train yard, and I mean that thing had, I don't know what, had less than 10,000 miles on it, but you'd swear DPF had 500,000 miles on it. And again, it has to do with the use case for the actual vehicle. And these train yard vehicles basically roll out of the garage in the morning and maybe only go a couple hundred yards, and they're swinging a crane all day. So really, you got to do that based on engine hours. But over the road truck, extremely well maintained, good motor oil. You know, 3, 4, 500,000 miles. Typical truck, 160,000 miles, probably 200, 250 is probably a good round number on that. All right. And again, this is another one that's a statement and not a question per se, but it is a good one. And the statement was from Joseph Marcotte. Hope I said that correctly. Joseph, if you're out there, I apologize if I murdered your name. But it's not a question, but it's worth including. So we do clean oil-soaked filters. It's a lot of work. I don't really enjoy it. It's messy, and requires a really long process to do. But it is a lot less expensive than replacing. We do charge a bit more, but it's nothing compared to a new filter. So strangely enough, towards the end of last week, we got in both a Ford F450 DPF assembly, which is about 8 feet long, weighs about 150 pounds, requires an interesting process to clean it in general. And if it's oil soaked, it gets even more interesting. And we got a one box of a Freightliner that lost both a turbo and an EGR cooler at the same time and dumped all the oil into the one box. So both of those will be, I'm posting a TikTok video about that coming up soon. And hey, I got a gummy bear on TikTok. I don't know what that means, but I got one, and that's awesome. Thank you. Keep them coming. And the likes and stars and everything like that are awesome. Hey, Clinton, I think talking about you. He popped up on TikTok. So, but both of the F450 and that one box after treatment were a mess, but they'll be done tomorrow. And hopefully in the next, as soon as tomorrow or the next day, be back in the truck and save those owners a ton of money on replacing that. All right, what is question number 7? So what are the catalyst metals in the DOC and SCR? Are they the same? So while the DOC, DPS, SCR are made of the same substrate, which is cordierite, and some of the newer DPFs, I don't really like them, but if you look at the substrate that's in a DOC, a DPF, and an SCR, and it kind of looks tan, that's cordierite, and it's spelled Cordierite. But if it's a gunmetal gray and generally in squares, about this big, that's actually silicon carbide. But they all do the same thing no matter what they're made of. The DOC is the catalyst that produces the high heat necessary to burn off accumulated soot during a regen. The DOC is coated inside with 3 magic precious metals, which are platinum, palladium, and rhodium. And believe it or not, the platinum is not the most expensive metal. Can you believe that? Rhodium costs almost 10 times as much as platinum and can easily be over $10,000 an ounce. So now, now you know that. Um, and the DPF is just a filter and normally will not have any precious metal coating, but some still do. Um, and that just has to do on the engineering of the after treatment. But really, the DPF is designed to just be a soot catcher and not provide any catalytic uh, process to produce heat or anything like that. The heat is made by the DOC. The DPF is just a filter catching the junk before it goes in the air. And the SCR is what turns the NOx, which are the nitrogen oxides from the engine, into harmless nitrogen and water. And the catalyst in the SCR is a metal called, write this down, vanadium. And that sounds like something from a Marvel movie, but that is literally a metal, vanadium. And it's whatever vanadium is. I know it's not very valuable because if you are doing recycling or scrapping, the SCR has no value at all. But the DOC can be worth a decent amount. And unlike the catalyst metals in the DOC, which have a higher melting temperatures than any the real high melting temperatures, they can really take a licking and keep on ticking. Vanadium will melt at about 1,250 degrees Fahrenheit, 1250 Fahrenheit. And so if you ever see an overtemp issue on your SCR, or if your diagnostics tool allows you to see um, max temps and that sort of stuff. If your SCR ever gets to above 1250, like above 1300 degrees for any amount of time, you're almost guaranteed your SCR is toast. I've seen this happen way too often in 2015 Freightliners, which is a bummer. Um, and that can normally be caused by overfueling, or in the case of the 2015 Freightliners, there was a period of time when the programming in the ECM, at least I think it was the ECM or the MCM, um, one of the M's, and it was the fuel map was somehow set in a way that it produced excessive heat in the one box and literally burned out the SCRs. So if you get a 2015 Freightliner, call me, text me 404-999-1361. And if you've been pulling your hair out trying to figure it out, I can help you get to the bottom of that. And unfortunately, it might not be the best news. Question number 8. What is DEF? And can I just pour ammonia or water in my tank instead? So DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid, is 32.5% urea and 67.5% purified or deionized water. Urea is a byproduct of urine, or if you're from Britain, urine. And yes, that is pee, but normally produced synthetically on an industrial scale, not necessarily, they don't have cows out back peeing into a bottle. And the DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid, works with the SCR to turn NOx, which is nitrogen oxide, in the engine into nothing more than nitrogen and water. And it's kind of a neat process we can talk about some other time, but it's, basically takes the NOx, turns it to ammonia, and then turns the ammonia into ammonia, which is NH3, and then it turns it into nitrogen and H2O, which is water, and out that goes. So if you dump ammonia into your DEF tank, I don't think it would damage anything. I think it would be kind of stupid, but I don't think it would damage anything necessarily. But it's not going to do anything. Now, again, like I said earlier, if just don't put ammonia in your DEF tank. If you do and you wreck your truck, that's on you. But it's not going to reduce NOx, and assuming it doesn't damage anything, it will derate or shut down your truck because your after treatment control module, or ACM, will detect that your system is not converting NOx and will just shut you down. So you'd have to drain the ammonia and rinse everything out. And then people say, well, can't I just use water? Well, you can. It's just not going to do anything. So that water would definitely not hurt anything, but your trucks is just going to derate on you, shut down, because you're not going to convert NOx. You have to use DEF. DEF also does have a shelf life. Like beer or wine or whatever, it will begin to oxidize, and over a period of time, it will stop. It won't work as well, and because the ratios get off, or it starts to get funky, and that's why generally def from the pump and it's from a busy, a busy pump, that's not an issue. If you really want to make sure that your def is good, buy it in a 5-gallon container, check the dates, make sure it's, within the expiration date. Where things really go sideways with def is when like a fleet will have a great big 1,000-gallon tank of it or something, or a industrial bulk container of it sitting out in the sun, getting hit by sunlight, getting hot, and it may be perfectly fine on the first half of that tank, but you get down to the second half or the bottom of it, and you're sucking def out of there. That is no bueno, and normally it doesn't cause any damage, but it just means that you have to monkey around and drain the def out of your trunk or out of your truck and start over again. So, and then in all caps, I wrote the following just to make sure that you don't. Oh, where's my mouse? Hold on. Do not ever, ever, ever put diesel in your def tank or def in your diesel tank. And I know you wouldn't do it on purpose, but it's easy to get distracted, or you're tired, you're not paying attention, and you take the blue cap off the def tank, you stick the diesel thing in there, and by the time you catch yourself, look out. If you ever do that, don't move the truck, don't start the truck. And same thing with putting def in the diesel tank. And I like to say that other than driving your truck off the cliff, putting the wrong sauce in the wrong tank is about the most expensive mistake you can make when you're putting anything in your truck. I like this one. This is hold on here, question number 9. And hold on a second here. Bear with me a second. This is a great one. So, truck parts can be expensive, can be stupid expensive. What's the most stupidly expensive part I've seen lately? Now, when I look at, had a friend. I just got a note on TikTok. I do that recently. $10,000 mistake. 10,000 at least. 20,000. Without trying too hard. I think I get some feedback on the fuel additive. I'd love to talk to you more about that. So, so when it comes to expensive truck parts, I'm not talking about stuff like injectors or things that are expensive but kind of make sense because someone, yay, I got a hat and a mustache. But I'll show you a part that is literally stupid expensive. Hang on a second here. Excuse me while I whip this out. Look at this. This is a piece of hose. And it's about 2 inches long. There's nothing special about it. This was $118. This goes on to a Volvo or a Mac and attaches to this part here. If you do have a Volvo or a Mac, I highly recommend replace your pressure differential or delta P sensor on your DPF, because what it is the original version of this has these 2 tubes, and the original one had one of them was real skinny and it would get brittle and break off, and these things kind of stop working after a while. So what's amazing about this is that this sensor is cheap. It's like $50. This hose that goes on this sensor, because remember, they used to have a fatty and a skinny one, and the skinny one would break off, so they made them both. They just kind of beam up, and it's a little heavier duty sensor. This one bigger, and this one goes into on the old DPF. This would go into a stainless steel tube, and the skinny one went into a skinnier stainless steel tube. They made these both fat, so now you have to spend $118 on this little piece of hose to adapt it down to the skinny stainless steel tube. So the question is, what's the most stupidly expensive part? I think this one is hard to beat. And as the kids say, and now I believe it's true, is hose ain't nothing but trouble, because this is trouble. $118 is ridiculous. And last but not least, kind of like this one, what is the last book I read? I got this question, and I'm like, I'm kind of a ADD guy, and I don't really. I used to read a lot. I don't read like I used to, but the last book I read is right here, and it is the Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. Now, it's not really. It's more like a little sit down and read it in 10 minutes, but so if you want more about the basic laws of human stupidity, maybe go look at your coworker. I'm teasing. I'm sure he's wonderful. But look this up online. It's actually the basic laws of human stupidity are great, and once you read it, it'll make sense. But one of the laws is how people underestimate how many stupid people there are in the world, and so here's law number one, and I'll read it to you. Always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in the nation. So that being said, those are your 10 questions, my 10 answers. I'm hoping that I helped somebody learn something new, and made you feel less stupid. And if you have anything that you want to add to this, please do. In fact, I'm going to quick check my chats here and see what we got. Hold on a minute. Steve Hoke, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate your fee. I'm kind of looking at the chats here. So there's Steve Hoke. Appreciate that. So anyway, we're going to call it a night on the big channels, the YouTube and the Facebook and everything else. But I am going to switch over to TikTok here. I'm going to get comfortable. Probably pour myself a beer so that my mouth doesn't get dry as I'm yammering here. We're going to. So anybody who's watching on Facebook or anywhere else that wants to continue this conversation, find us on TikTok and join the DPF Guys live. But thank you so much for watching. Much appreciated. Definitely check us back next week. Like, follow, share. Definitely follow us on subscribe, I should say, on YouTube. Find us on Facebook. Make sure you pay attention to what we're doing, because we're going to be doing this more and more often. I'm going to be hopefully bringing some people on here that are far smarter than me, that can enlighten all of us with some great information, and then go from there. So, watching, and I will see you next week. And then, of course, check back. We'll be doing some more interviews coming up on the YouTube channel starting next week as well. Have a great upcoming week. Be safe, and talk to you soon.